Praise the Lord and good afternoon, River City Pentecostals family and friends. I come to you with a very important update. And this update is concerning our policies and procedures dealing with the COVID virus going forward. As many of you know, God has shown us favor and His grace has been with us. And for 9 months, we did not have a case of the virus that affected our services. And that changed 2 weeks ago. So we are here. So what do we do now? How do we proceed with the COVID virus? We've had several people ask questions. What do we do? Do we have to do this? Do we have to retest? What do we need to do? So after looking into the CDC guidelines, as well as Georgia Department of Health Services and reading medical journals, this is what I have found. Number one, if you are symptomatic, if you are showing symptoms, please do not self-diagnose. Do not say, oh, it's no big deal. Go get that test and do not come to in-person services until you know that you are negative. That way people can rest assured that yes, you may have the sniffles, you may even have a headache, but you have a negative test to back up that you are not carrying the COVID-19 virus. Number two is, what do you do if you are positive with COVID-19? Well, the first thing is you need to go through the recommended quarantine time, which is 10 days at this time, the 10-day quarantine span where you are isolated from people. 10 days, that's what you need to do, is stay isolated for 10 days. After that 10-day period, as long as you have not presented a fever in 24 hours at least, and your symptoms are significantly decreased, then you can go about your lives as normal. You can even come to in-person services without a negative test. This is the reason why. The test will pick up fragments of that virus. So your antibodies within those 10 days have come against that virus, and that virus has somewhat fragmented, and the test will pick up fragments of that virus, and it is very possible to pick up a positive test, for that test to pick up a positive for up to 90 days. But you are no longer contagious. You don't have enough particulates in your body to be of any harm to anyone or contagious to anyone. So after your 10-day quarantine, as long as your symptoms have significantly decreased and you have not presented a fever in 24 hours or more, then yes, you can come to in-person services. If your symptoms begin to reoccur, you need to go back and quarantine again. You need to quarantine again. So what do you do if you are not the person that came up positive with COVID-19, but you have come in contact with someone that has come up positive with COVID-19? Listen to me. This is very important. If you come in contact with someone who has COVID-19, then you need to self-impose a quarantine for 7 days, isolated from everybody for 7 days. Now, in that case, in order to return to services, you need to schedule a test and you need to be able to show a negative result. The reason is because it can take 2 to 14 days for COVID symptoms to present themselves. So even though you've isolated for 7 days, it could be within the next week after that that you begin to show symptoms, and yes, you indeed did contract the COVID virus. So if you have come in contact with someone who is positive for COVID-19, isolate for 7 days, quarantine for 7 days, and take a test and be able to have a negative test before you come to in-person services. So hopefully that has made it very clear. Just briefly as a review, if you're showing symptoms, do not self-diagnose, get a test, and do not come to in-person services unless you can show a negative. If you have contracted COVID-19, go through the 10-day period of quarantine, and then after that 10 days, as long as you no longer have a fever, 24 hours or more without a fever, and you are not presenting any symptoms, your symptoms have decreased significantly, then you can go about life per usual, and you can even come to in-person services. Now, if you have come in contact with someone who is positive with COVID-19, you need to isolate for 7 days and take a test. Be able to show that you are negative prior to returning to in-person services. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I will be able to answer what I do know. Understand, I did not take this process lightly. Some people will think that this is not enough as far as the stringency of the process, but I promise you, I've looked at CDC, what they require. I've looked at the Georgia Department of Health Services. I have talked to somebody who would know, and I have also read a medical journal that is saying this same thing, that after you have gone through your 10-day quarantine as a COVID positive, as long as you have not had a fever in 24 hours or more, and your symptoms are significantly decreased, you are no longer contagious, and you can go about your life as usual. Once again, folks, I love you all, and we look forward to working through this together. We're going to see great things. God is for us. And if God is for us, not even COVID can stand against us.